Here we have a 6th generation Volkswagen Jetta. We're gonna go over the top 5 problems. Overall, they're really not that difficult, easy fixes. If you're having problems with your vehicle, such as any of these problems, make sure you click the link in the description, head over to 1aauto.com. Number 1, the coil packs. Now this happens to be on a Volkswagen with a 2-liter engine. It's the gas engine, and it only has a single coil pack with spark plug wires. Most of the other engines actually have a coil over plug setup, similar to this. When you have a coil that is on the plug like this and it fails, it's only going to affect that individual cylinder, which is on this vehicle. When this coil fails, it's going to affect all the cylinders. So most of the time you are either going to stall or the vehicle will not start. In certain circumstances, you may end up with a misfire with a check engine light that is flashing, and it could have something to do with the wires or even the spark plugs themselves. To test the coil, whether you have spark, you might want to use something called a spark tester like this. You take off one of the wires. It's going to go just like that. And then we're going to try to start the vehicle, and you should see that flashing if it's sending spark down to the spark plug. So we know that coil is good. When replacing the coil, it's always a good idea to replace the spark plugs and wires. The reason why the coils sometimes go bad is because the plugs and wires have been neglected, and it caused the coil to have to work harder. Number 2, the window regulator. You may notice when you go to use your windows, they're not working properly. You might even hear the motor turning in the door panel, but nothing's moving. The window regulator is actually cable driven, and over time they can bind up. The cables could fray and cause the window not to work properly. In some instances, you can actually grab the window and pull it up and try to put some tape at the bottom just to get the window up temporarily. Replacing window regulators overall is not that difficult. You have to remove the door panel for the most part. Trim pieces come off. There should be a few fasteners here and there, and then the door panels are clipped in. You want to secure the window up, normally with some masking tape is the best method. Take the window regulator out, put the new window regulator in, and repeat the process. Number 3, the lower control arms. Some of the symptoms you may notice when you have faulty lower control arms is going over bumps. You may hear some clicking noise or some clunking noise coming from the backside of the lower control arm. There is a bushing located in the backside here, and it's made of rubber. Over time, it may crack and separate. That's not uncommon on these. There's also bushing in the front that could cause some issues. And on the front side, you have the lower ball joint. You could have some issues with some play there. Normally, you're not going to have as much noise there as you would with the back bushing. When you go to replace the control arm, it's pretty simple. You take the wheel off, obviously. Take these nuts off. You can separate it from the ball joint itself if you don't have to replace the ball joint. There's a bolt in the front here. There's a bolt right there. Take those out, and the control arm slides right out. Slide a new one in, bolt it all up, torque to spec, put the wheel back on, and then afterwards you're gonna have to have the vehicle aligned. Number 4, the water pump. You may notice when you're looking under the engine, you can't see where the water pump goes, and that's because it's under the timing cover. You have to replace the water pump when you're doing a timing belt or vice versa. Now the timing belts normally last around 80 to 100,000 miles, and in that time you're going to want to replace the water pump. The original water pump comes with a plastic impeller. Over time that plastic will break down and it's not going to spin anymore. It's not going to pump the coolant through the engine or through the vehicle. You're going to notice you don't have any heat and the engine will overheat. Number 5, the headlight bulbs. Luckily on this vehicle, you don't really have to remove much to access the headlight bulbs. For this side, we did remove the air box, and the main headlight bulb is located right here. You can just twist the cover, take the cover off, and then you can feel in there. It feels a little bit like a credit card, like a piece of plastic. You just twist it to the left just slightly, and it slides out. you can see where you can grab onto that little bracket. The headlight bulb itself comes out pretty easily. Just take a straight blade screwdriver. Obviously make sure the headlights are off. Just pry underneath here. Just grab the bulb and slide it out. When you have a burnt out bulb, you want to pay close attention to the terminals of the bulbs. See if there's any burn marks on the terminals. You can see a little bit of scorching on this side, but the terminal connector is what you want to pay attention to and see if there's any burn marks in there. That's going to cause your bulb to burn out quicker. If it's not making good contact in there, then it's going to end up having too much resistance, causing the bulb to get hot and then burn out. The nice thing about this is the bulb is at H7, which is a very common bulb. You'll find these pretty easily. And it just installs the same way the old one came out. Just line it up, lock it down. You want to make sure you don't touch the glass of the bulb. It's always a good idea to wear gloves. And that's all the way down. Now we're going to slide it back in position. Now we can put the cap back on, line that up, and lock it down. There we go. That's it for the top 5, but for this vehicle, we actually have a bonus one for you because this one's actually making the noise, and it's a wiper motor. So if your wipers are making this noise, you don't want to neglect this. You want to replace the motor as soon as possible. It's fairly easy. You take the wiper arms off, take the cowl off, remove the wiper motor and transmission, replace the motor. So I hope you enjoyed this video. If it helped you out, make sure you subscribe to our channel, ring the bell, turn on all notifications so you don't miss any of our videos. And if you need any car parts for any of your vehicles, make sure you click the link in the description and head over to 1aauto.com. All these, hold on, do it again. Mostly you, hold on, let me just think about what to say. If your wiper maters, if your wiper maters, maters. It's ridiculous.